Imagine a world where a simple scratch could become a life-threatening infection. Think about a time when routine surgeries were considered incredibly dangerous gambles. This isn't a scene from a historical drama. It's a future we are steadily marching toward if we ignore one of the most significant health threats of our time: antibiotic resistance. In simple terms, antibiotic resistance happens when the germs we are trying to kill, the bacteria, develop the ability to defeat the drugs designed to eliminate them. These powerful medicines, which have saved countless lives for nearly a century, are gradually losing their effectiveness. This isn't a problem confined to a single country or a distant region. It is a truly global crisis that respects no borders. From the most advanced hospitals in wealthy nations to rural clinics in developing countries, resistant bacteria are emerging and spreading with alarming speed. To grasp the sheer scale of this challenge, consider this stark projection. By the year 2050, antibiotic resistance could be responsible for an astonishing 10 million deaths each year. To put that into perspective, it is more than the number of people who currently die from cancer worldwide each year. Health experts are increasingly referring to antibiotic resistance as a silent pandemic. This term is incredibly fitting because, unlike a fast-moving virus that grabs international headlines and creates immediate, visible panic, this crisis is unfolding quietly in the background. There are no daily case counts on the news, no public lockdown measures, and no widespread sense of urgency. Yet the infections are happening every single day. People are getting sick, treatments are failing, and lives are being lost. But it often happens one patient at a time, hidden within the walls of our hospitals and clinics. The stealthy nature of this problem means that many people who are affected may never even realize it. A person might go into the hospital for a routine procedure and develop an infection that just doesn't seem to get better with the first or even second round of antibiotics. Their hospital stay gets longer, their recovery is more difficult, but the specific cause, a resistant bacterium, is often a detail lost in a complex medical chart. It's a dangerous myth that only the very sick or elderly are at risk from these superbugs. The reality is stark. Antibiotic resistance can strike anyone, at any time. Even a healthy college athlete could suffer a life-threatening infection from a simple cut, one that standard treatments can no longer stop. These infections are not just confined to intensive care units. They are increasingly found out in the community, affecting otherwise healthy and active individuals. The causes behind this growing crisis are multifaceted and deeply ingrained in our modern way of life. A primary driver is the misuse and overuse of antibiotics in human medicine. We have often demanded these powerful drugs for viral infections like the common cold or flu, where they have absolutely no effect. This constant exposure to antibiotics creates a perfect breeding ground for resistant bacteria. Another major contributor is the widespread use of antibiotics in agriculture and farming, not just to treat sick animals, but often to promote growth and prevent disease in crowded conditions. This constant exposure to antibiotics creates a perfect breeding ground for resistant bacteria, which can then spread to humans through the environment and the food chain. Poor infection control in hospitals and the lack of new antibiotics being developed compound the problem. We are in a desperate race against bacterial evolution, but we are fighting with an aging and dwindling arsenal of weapons. To truly understand the impact of antibiotic resistance, we have to look beyond the statistics and see the human stories behind them. Consider the story of a man I'll call David, a 62-year-old grandfather who was looking forward to his retirement. He went into the hospital for what was supposed to be a routine knee replacement surgery, a common procedure that thousands undergo successfully every year. The surgery itself went perfectly, but a few days later, the incision site became red, swollen, and incredibly painful. It was an infection, something that can happen but is usually cleared up quickly with a standard course of antibiotics. But for David, this was just the beginning of a terrifying journey. The first antibiotic his doctors prescribed did nothing. The infection worsened, and the fever spiked. They switched to a second, more powerful antibiotic, but the bacteria continued to multiply, unaffected. Tests soon confirmed their fears. David was battling a highly resistant strain of staph bacteria, often known as MRSA. His family watched helplessly as he grew weaker, the infection threatening to spread into his bloodstream, a condition known as sepsis, which can be fatal. David's medical team had to resort to last-line antibiotics, powerful drugs that are often considered the final defense against superbugs. These medications can come with severe side effects, sometimes causing damage to the kidneys or hearing. For weeks, David's life hung in the balance. He endured multiple additional surgeries to clean out the infected tissue from his knee, each procedure carrying its own risks. What should have been a short hospital stay turned into a months-long battle for survival. Ultimately, after a grueling fight, David survived, but he left the hospital months later, significantly weakened and facing a long, arduous road of physical therapy. The consequences of antibiotic resistance extend far beyond the individual patient's bedside. They create a powerful ripple effect that threatens to destabilize our entire healthcare system. One of the most immediate and tangible impacts is the soaring cost of medical care. When first-line antibiotics fail, doctors must turn to newer, more expensive drugs. A patient's hospital stay becomes significantly longer, adding thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars to their final bill. The need for additional surgeries, prolonged stays in the intensive care unit, and extensive diagnostic tests all contribute to a massive financial burden. This crisis also threatens to make many modern medical procedures far more dangerous. Think about the pillars of 21st century medicine: cancer chemotherapy, which weakens the immune system, organ transplants, which require lifelong immunosuppressant drugs, and complex surgeries like open-heart operations. As resistance grows, the risk of a post-operative infection becomes a much greater threat. We could face a future where doctors must tell patients that the risk of an untreatable infection from a routine surgery is simply too high. While the scale of antibiotic resistance can feel overwhelming, the power to fight back is not solely in the hands of scientists and doctors. Every single one of us has a crucial role to play in preserving these life-saving medicines for the future. The first and most important step is to be a responsible patient. This means only taking antibiotics when they are prescribed by a certified health professional. It is vital to remember that antibiotics only work against bacteria. They have no effect on viruses that cause illnesses like the common cold, the flu, or most sore throats. Once you are prescribed an antibiotic, it is absolutely critical to follow the instructions precisely and to complete the full course of the medication, even if you start to feel better after a few days. Beyond our personal use of medicine, we can contribute to the fight by focusing on prevention. Good hygiene is one of our most effective shields. Washing your hands regularly with soap and water is a simple yet powerful way to prevent the spread of infections. Staying up to date on your vaccinations is also essential, as vaccines can protect you from bacterial illnesses like tetanus and whooping cough, reducing the need for antibiotics in the first place. Finally, we must all become advocates for change. This is a fight we cannot win in silence. Talk to your family, your friends, and your community about the importance of this issue. Support policies that promote better infection control in hospitals, responsible antibiotic use in agriculture, and investment in the research and development of new medicines. This silent pandemic requires us to raise our collective voice. The future of modern medicine is not a spectator sport. It depends on the informed actions of every single one of us. Together, we can protect these miracle drugs and ensure they are there for us when we need them most. Antibiotic resistance is everyone's problem, and everyone can be part of the solution. Share this video and help break the silence on this hidden threat.